Okay, so as you can see right now, I'm holding the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 with my left hand and the Sony ZV-E1 on my right with the wide angle lens. Considering that this is 10 times pricier and 10 times bulkier, it's pretty crazy what the DJI can do. So I'm just gonna check stabilization really quick. Hey everybody, hope you guys are healthy and safe. This is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. It is, in my opinion, the gadget of the year of 2023. Because this little guy right here makes life easier for a whole generation of people who want to be content creators. I'm not talking about just tech YouTubers like me, but also like TikTokers, Instagram influencers. You know, every time you go to a coffee shop in a big city, you see people posing and then they need to have someone to hold the camera for them because it's tough to film yourself. This thing makes filming yourself much easier, and I am so glad it exists. So before I continue talking about the hardware, let's rewind a bit and take a look at my YouTube channel and the journey I've gone through to find the perfect vlog camera. It took years. So if you watch my videos regularly, thank you for that. You will know that one of my trademark videos is I like to film outside. I'm like walking and talking at various parts of the world. It's ironic that this video is actually shot kind of stationary because I usually am outside walking and talking. So to film myself, I needed a camera, obviously, and I've gone through several versions to try to find one that fits my needs. So initially I shot with an iPhone 10 and then an iPhone 10s because Android phone cameras at the time were not good. So I shot with an iPhone 10 and 10s, but then the problem was that I didn't want to use the front-facing camera because the front-facing camera is always inferior to the main camera. So I would flip the iPhone around and just film myself with the rear-facing camera. That brings two issues. Number one, I can't see what I'm filming. Number two, the iPhone 10 and 10s did not have an ultra-wide camera, so I had to shoot with the main camera, which is a little bit tight. When I'm holding like this, my face is way too big on frame and it looks a little bit scary because I don't have a good looking enough face to be that close to the camera. So then to solve that issue, I went and purchased a Moment ultra wide angle lens. It's like a snap-on accessory for iPhones. I bought it just so I can shoot wider field of view, handheld. But then stabilization still wasn't good enough, so I had to put the iPhone on a gimbal too. And then the iPhone 11 came out with the ultra-wide camera, so I switched to that. But the problem with the ultra-wide camera, particularly on the iPhone 11, was that the sensor size was so small, footage only looked good during the day. As soon as it gets to low lighting, footage looked pretty bad. I then experimented with action cameras from DJI and Insta360. Action cameras have a really wide field of view and good stabilization, but then image quality falls off a cliff in low light conditions, as you can see right here. So then a year after that, Sony launched the ZV-E1, which Sony advertised as a vlog-centric camera. So I immediately purchased one just to realize that camera was terrible. So number one, the camera stabilization was absolutely terrible. I mean, look at the footage right here. I'm holding the camera handheld and it's shaking like this. The second problem was the ZV-E1 had a built-in lens that could not be changed and the field of view was a little bit tight. So again, here you can see my face is way too close to the camera. I was actually very pissed off with Sony for that. You made a camera you advertise as a vlog camera and it has terrible stabilization and a lens that is way too tight on the person's face. Like, what the hell were you thinking? And that thing was like 750 bucks. I then tried a couple of niche products, including the Idol Cam, which is a camera built on top of a gimbal. But the Idol Cam was created by a really small startup. The company was so small, the founder actually met me in Hong Kong to hand me the review unit. Ultimately, they're such a small company, so you know the hardware quality was a little bit lacking and the video quality was just okay. DJI later then came up with something that was similar to that idea, the DJI Osmo Pocket. I picked it up right away, just again to be disappointed realizing that the camera sensor is too small. So when you shoot in low light conditions, footage did not look good. The DJI Pocket 2, which came out a year later, improved the sensor size a little bit, but still, as you can see here, video quality looked below par. So then finally I moved on to a Sony a7C and I just put it on top of a gimbal. This setup finally gave me that nice wide angle cinematic video that I like with good stabilization, but it's also very heavy. It's like 5 pounds. It also takes 5 minutes to set up every single time. And then late last year, Sony introduced the ZV-E1. Now this was like the ZV-1 that I talked about earlier, but much better because number one, you can change the lens now so you can use a wider lens. And then number two, stabilization with the ZV-E1 improved significantly. It uses EIS, like what the smartphones do, crop into the frame to digitally stabilize the shot. And the stabilization is actually good enough now that I can use the ZV-E1 without a gimbal. So I've been using that setup for the past year, vlogging at the Samsung launch event and also the iPhone launch event. So ZV-E1 is awesome. And for a camera, it's very portable, but it is still a little bit heavy as a vlog camera that you hold with your arms extended, walking around for 10 minutes, because it is still like 3 pounds, I want to say, camera, lens, and the little selfie stick. So it's good, but still not perfect. Until now, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 comes along, and it is finally perfect, because this is just like the first two DJI 1 and 2. It's a camera built on top of a miniature gimbal, so it is optically stabilized. And you know, optical image stabilization, OIS, is always better than EIS because you don't have to crop into the frame. But on top of that, DJI improved the camera sensor significantly. This uses a 1-inch sensor sourced from Sony. So with a 1-inch sensor, you get real natural bokeh. You can see some separation between my head and the background. And the field of view is 15 millimeters, which is actually wide enough that right now, my arms are not even fully extended, but you can see quite a lot of the frame. It's not just like my face like this. And if I extend my arm all the way more, then you get even more into the frame. There's also a wide angle adapter that comes with the package that you can just snap on to get an even wider frame. You get a little bit of distortion right here with my arm, but this is awesome. So finally, after years of looking, I finally found a camera that's small, lightweight, portable, with a wide angle field of view and good stabilization. So let's take a look at the overall hardware. The overall shape is very similar to the first two DJI 1 and 2, except this screen is much bigger. It is a 2-inch OLED panel, and it gets very, very bright. I actually have the brightness right now quite low at like 34%, because if I have it any brighter, like if I get it up to like 80%, it actually appears blown out on my camera screen. So this is bright enough that when you're outside under the sun, you can still see the screen very easily. So this tune screen obviously allows you to see very clearly what you're filming, and it's also fully interactive. You can touch on it, you can swipe on it to cycle through the menu. Like I said, the star of the show is this camera. 1-inch Sony CMOS sensor built on top of a 3-axis gimbal. You also have a joystick here to control the gimbal if you want, but for the most part, you don't really need it because DJI software is so smart that, for example, when you're shooting in vlogging mode, you can have it track your face automatically, and then this gimbal will move around and just track my face as I move around. So a lot of times, I can put this on top of a flat surface and then just film myself. And because it is a 1-inch sensor, even in lower light conditions, footage still looks pretty good, and I still have a little bit of that natural depth of field bokeh. So right here you have a record button, you know, self-explanatory. You hit the button to record, but you can also connect the DJI Pocket 3 to DJI's app called the DJI Mimo, and from there you can control this gimbal remotely with the phone. As for shooting modes, you have the option to shoot standard video, take photo, panorama photo, time-lapse, all of that, slow motion. But to be honest, I'm going to use it 99% of the time just for video. There's also a very intelligent software such as Product Showcase. So for example, if I bring something to frame, it will actually focus on that thing instead of my face. You can also digitally zoom at up to 2x. So I can zoom in. Ooh, details looks to be pretty good right now. This is 2x zooms, I'm assuming is digital, but details is looking pretty good. And you see that 1-inch sensor, you're getting natural bokeh. So I've actually used the DJI Pocket 3 to shoot a lot of content already in the past couple of weeks. If you watch my Xiaomi 14 Pro vlog in Jakarta or my TCL Rainier Air 2, you'll see footage shot with the DJI Pocket 3. Video quality is good enough that I can blend footage from this camera into this Sony ZV-E1 camera, and they don't look that out of place. Okay, so now you're watching footage shot with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and my Sony ZV-E1 with a Sony 10 to 20 millimeter lens. I'm gonna walk downstairs right now. And I'm gonna walk back up the stairs. And yeah, the Sony ZV-E1 can still produce a little bit crisper videos with even stronger bokeh, but this thing, the total setup costs almost $3,000 US. The DJI Pocket 3 starts at $519. So what is that, like a 6 times price difference, and also not just the price, the size difference. This thing is infinitely more portable than the Sony ZV-E1 with a lens, with a selfie stick. So the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is an absolute game changer. And oh, you can also shoot vertical videos too. My Xiaomi 14 Pro unboxing was shot with this camera. So the fact that this camera is such a small size really makes it easier for me to film footage out and about. I'm not just talking about comfort now. Obviously, it's easier to hold something smaller. But even when I filmed that Xiaomi 14 Pro unboxing, I filmed it at a coffee shop and I just put this onto a small counter. And because it's such a small thing, nobody came to stop me. I think if I set up this camera with the tripod onto that counter, I think someone at the coffee shop would have come up and just say, hey, you can't do that because it's a little bit too bulky. But with this thing, it's so small, you can kind of put it anywhere. And when you're walking around outside on the street, you don't get as many weird looks because this thing looks tiny. It's not like you're holding a bulky camera setup. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the price. So DJI Osmo Pocket 3 starts at $519 US. For that, you only get this camera along with a little protective case and like a couple of charging cables. So realistically, for most people, they will want to pay a little bit more and get the creator combo, which is $660 US. And then on top of this thing, you also get an extra battery grip that you plug in to add additional battery life. So without the battery grip, this thing can shoot for about 2 hours, but depending on how much storage you have too. But 2-hour battery life without the battery grip. If you add the battery grip, you can bump that up to basically like 4 hours. The creator combo also includes a tripod leg that you can screw onto the bottom of the battery leg, so that allows you to prop up this thing a little bit easier. And probably the most important part for vloggers, it comes with a DJI Bluetooth wireless microphone, and this microphone connects to the gimbal automatically as soon as you turn it on, and you will get noticeably better audio output when you're filming outside in loud environments. I mean, right now, in a quiet environment like this mic is more than good enough, but then, why don't I just show you? And right now I'm just using the internal mic from the Pocket 3. So let me put on that Bluetooth wireless mic. I have the mic right here. Just got powered on. It should connect within like a second. Okay, I think it's connected now. So how do I sound? I should sound a little bit better than before. So I know that some of my viewers are going to say this thing is way too expensive at $660 US. I don't really agree. I think if you think this is too expensive, it's because you either have no use for this thing at all, like you're just someone who don't really need to film yourself ever. Maybe you don't need to film video for work at all. So it's a complete, like a hobby, like a for fun thing. Then in that case, I can see why you don't want to pay $660 for this. But for everyone else who's, again, trying to be a YouTuber, trying to be a TikToker, trying to be an Instagram influencer, and there are a lot of these people, this thing makes their work so much easier for them. Like for me, this thing is not only not expensive, it is a good deal. Like if this was like $900, I would have to pay it because it makes my work easier. So that's about it for this video of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I know it wasn't the most technical review. I didn't go over like, oh, you can shoot at 4K 120, any of that. But to be honest, if you want to know that, you can find it on the spec sheet or watch other people's videos. For me, this video, I want to share with you my journey as a YouTuber and all the different setups I've tried until I found this thing, which finally gives me everything that I want. So yeah, thanks for watching.